The human starship Aurora glided silently through the violet haze of the Zerathia system. Outside the large observation windows, twin suns bathed the planet below in gold and green light. From orbit, the alien world looked like a painting. Forests of crystal trees, rivers that shimmered with rainbow reflections, and mountains that floated just above the surface. Captain Eli Carter leaned against the edge of the bridge, staring down at the planet with a mix of awe and nerves. This mission was supposed to be routine diplomacy. Routine. That word didn't feel right when they were about to meet the most powerful ruler of an alien civilization, Queen Zephyra herself. "Captain," said Lieutenant Mara Singh, the ship's communications officer, "we are approaching the coordinates. Planet surface visibility is perfect. Queen Zephyra has requested a formal greeting in the central palace." Eli straightened. He always tried to appear calm, but inside his stomach did somersaults. "Good," he said, his voice a little too cheerful. "Let's hope she's not allergic to humans." The crew chuckled quietly, though Eli could sense the tension. Even seasoned officers were not entirely ready for the first face-to-face meeting with an alien monarch known across the galaxy for her strictness and intellect. The shuttle docked with the palace platform smoothly. Eli, Mara, and the small delegation stepped out into the open. The palace was enormous. Towers of iridescent metal curved like organic shells, and floating lights hovered in the air like tiny suns. The air was crisp, but smelled faintly of sweet flowers, unlike anything on Earth. Figure approached. Queen Zephyra was taller than any human, her skin a gleaming silver that reflected the twin suns. Her eyes were large and luminous, the color of molten amethyst. Her presence was commanding, yet there was an elegance to the way she moved, almost like a dance. The humans bowed, following their training. "Greetings, Your Majesty," Eli said formally. "We are honored to be here." Zephyra's voice was soft, but carried authority that made the humans straighten instinctively. "You come far, Captain Eli Carter. Your species has intrigued us for many cycles. Your humor is especially noted." Eli blinked. Humor? The logs mentioned human creativity, curiosity, diplomacy. But humor? He smiled nervously. Well, yes, we humans do enjoy, jokes." Zephyra tilted her head slightly, her gaze sharp. "Jokes can be dangerous, Captain. One word can shift alliances or start conflicts." Eli nodded a bit too quickly. "Of course, Your Majesty. I will be careful." The room fell silent for a moment. Eli's nerves got the better of him. He had always been quick with jokes among his crew, but this was an alien queen. Still, he thought a little humor might lighten the tension. He leaned forward slightly, trying to appear casual. "You'd make a cute wife," he said with a grin. The words echoed in the grand hall, and time seemed to stop. Zephyra froze mid-step, her hand hovering in the air. Her large eyes widened slightly. The humans around Eli gasped, some barely holding back exclamations of horror. The translation devices hummed softly, capturing the meaning in Zerathian, but even without the words, the tension was palpable. Eli's grin faltered. That was a joke?" he said quickly. "Just human humor?" The queen did not move. Her gaze did not waver. For what felt like an eternity, the delegation held its breath. Then finally, Zephyra spoke. Her voice was calm, but it carried weight that made Eli's knees feel like jelly. "Explain." Eli's mouth opened and closed. He had expected shock, anger, maybe even a diplomatic rebuke, but not this. Well, he began, scratching the back of his neck. "It's a human custom to... we say funny things sometimes. It's supposed to be lighthearted, not serious. When I said that, I was joking. About..." He waved his hands helplessly. "Not really. Marriage, just a joke." The queen's expression did not change. Her glowing eyes studied him with an intensity that made every word feel measured and heavy. "You are aware," she said slowly, That words can carry meaning beyond your intention? Yes, Your Majesty. Absolutely. I did not mean any offense, Eli stammered. A low hum filled the hall as the other humans exchanged worried glances. They had trained for diplomacy, but none of them had prepared for this. The Queen was not angry, not exactly, but the energy in the room was strange. Respectful, yes, but also charged with curiosity, as if she were trying to understand something, far beyond human logic. Come with me, Zafara said finally, gesturing gracefully. I wish to observe humans more closely. Humor, customs, your species' ways. Eli blinked. Oh, of course, Your Majesty. He motioned to his crew. Follow me. The humans followed the Queen through corridors that shimmered like liquid metal. Walls reflected images of their movements in surreal, artistic ways. Eli tried to calm his racing heart. He had expected strictness, perhaps ceremony, maybe even suspicion, but not curiosity. As they walked, Zafara asked questions. Why? Do you joke? Is it a form of bonding or a test of intelligence? Eli blinked. Both, I guess. Sometimes we joke to show affection, sometimes to lighten tension, sometimes we just like making people laugh. Zafara considered this. Interesting, your humor is not predictable. Logical, yes, but illogical in ways that seem creative. Eli chuckled nervously. We humans are good at being unpredictable. And dangerous, Zafara added quietly, almost to herself. Then she raised her head and said aloud, Captain, I would like to know more about your species. You will stay for a short time in the palace. You will share your customs and observe ours. This is important. The crew exchanged glances. This was unexpected. The Queen could have sent them away or worse, made a formal complaint to human authorities. Instead, she wanted immersion. As they entered a large observation chamber, Eli noticed the floor was transparent. Beneath them, the alien city stretched out in impossible geometry. Towers spiraled into the sky while floating platforms glided silently among them. Colors shifted gently, like sunlight through a prism. Zafara gestured for the humans to sit on cushions that floated above the floor. We will start with your stories, she said. Your humor, your games, your interactions. Tell me how you think and feel. I want to understand humans. Eli's stomach twisted in a mix of fear and excitement. He had survived difficult missions, strange alien species and political crises, but this was new. This was a chance to show humanity in its full, creative, clever glory. He smiled, trying to appear confident. Well, Your Majesty, humor is one way we connect. We joke, we laugh, we tell stories. Sometimes we do it badly, sometimes it's clever, but it's always part of being human. Zafara's glowing eyes tilted slightly, as if weighing his words. Your species is bold. You risk misunderstandings for the sake of connection. That's us, Eli said proudly. Bold, curious, and sometimes completely clumsy. A faint glimmer of amusement appeared on the Queen's face, almost imperceptible, but Eli noticed. Clumsy. Yes, that is a part of being human, I assume. Absolutely, he said with a laugh, relieved. We're not perfect, far from it, but we try. Zafara's gaze softened ever so slightly. Try, yes. That is valuable. Eli felt a spark of hope. Maybe his joke wasn't a disaster after all. Maybe, just maybe, it had opened a door for humans to show their creativity, their courage, their humor. Outside, the city glimmered under twin suns. Inside the palace, a human captain sat facing an alien queen, a small smile tugging at the corner of her lips. A meeting that had begun with a joke now promised a journey of understanding, friendship, and discovery. For the first time in cycles, Queen Zafara allowed herself to wonder. These humans, they are unpredictable. Perhaps they are worth more than I thought. And for Eli Carter, captain of the Aurora, The galaxy suddenly seemed a little less frightening, and a lot more exciting. The next morning, the sun-like twin stars of Zarathia rose together, painting the alien city in golden and violet streaks. Captain Eli Carter and his small human delegation had been invited to spend the day at Queen Zephyra's palace. They had expected a brief tour, a few ceremonial greetings, and perhaps a polite lunch. What they did not expect was that Zephyra wanted to study humans closely. Eli adjusted his uniform nervously as they entered a grand hall where floating lights swirled gently, casting patterns on the floor that shifted like liquid color. Zephyra's entourage, a group of silver-skinned advisors with elongated limbs and luminous eyes, watched silently, their faces unreadable. "Sit," the Queen commanded, pointing to soft levitating cushions. "We will begin." Eli and the crew obeyed, lowering themselves onto the cushions. He glanced at Lieutenant Mara Singh, who gave him a subtle nod, an unspoken warning. "Don't say anything else stupid." Zephyra moved closer, her gaze focused intently on Eli. "You said a joke yesterday," she began, her voice calm but heavy. "You claimed I would make a cute wife. Explain." Eli swallowed. Here it was again. The joke. "Ah, yes. Well, Your Majesty," he began carefully. It was a human way of trying to be funny. It wasn't serious. In human culture, sometimes we say things we don't mean to make people laugh or lighten the mood. That was my intent. Only humor. Zephyra's eyes glimmered. Interesting. Humor as a method of connection. And you think this works? Yes, sometimes, Eli said. But it can fail spectacularly. He forced a laugh. Clearly, I am testing the limits today. The Queen tilted her head, considering him. Your species is unpredictable. That is unusual. Boldness without threat. It is curious. Eli's crew exchanged glances. Boldness without threat. He liked the sound of that. We humans like to explore, learn, and, yes, sometimes joke about things that are strange to others. Strange? Yes, Zephyra said, almost thoughtfully. You said words that could have caused offense, yet you intend a connection. Fascinating. I wish to see more of this human behavior. Eli blinked. Observe humans? Sure, of course. That's what we do, in diplomacy. Zephyra rose, motioning for them to follow her through a corridor lined with translucent panels. Beyond them, the city stretched in impossible geometry. Towers that spiraled and hovered, streets that curved like ribbons in the air, and vehicles gliding silently without wheels. Your customs, she said as they walked, your humor, your ways of thinking. I wish to experience them firsthand. You will show me. Eli's stomach flipped. Well, we can try. The first test of human behavior came unexpectedly. Zephyra stopped in a large chamber where crystal spheres floated, mid-air. Each sphere glowed faintly and responded when touched. You call this play? She asked. Yes, Eli said. Kind of. Humans enjoy games. They help us think, cooperate, and sometimes just have fun. Zephyra extended a delicate hand and touched a sphere. It changed colors rapidly, spinning in patterns that seemed random but formed symmetrical designs after a moment. Curious. You say, play teaches humans? Explain. Eli glanced at Mara. Well, games teach teamwork, problem-solving, and strategy. But sometimes it's just for fun. Fun itself is important. Zephyra studied the spheres, then turned to Eli. Fun, as a purpose? That is illogical. Maybe, Eli said, smiling nervously. But humans are good at making the illogical useful, or at least an enjoyable. The Queen's glowing eyes softened almost imperceptibly. I see. You are bold, creative, and unpredictable. Perhaps your species is worth study. The humans moved on, walking through halls filled with floating gardens, flowing light streams, and devices that shifted shape depending on perspective. Each step brought a new question from Zephyra. Why do humans eat together? Why do you gather for music or dance? Why do you tell stories? Eli tried to answer each carefully. Eating together is bonding. Music and dance are forms of expression. Stories help us remember, teach lessons, and share imagination. Zephyra considered each answer. Connection, expression, and learning, all through simple acts. Humans are remarkably complex for your simplicity. At one point, the humans stopped near a pool of water that reflected the twin suns. Eli bent down and cupped some in his hands, letting it ripple. Zephyra mirrored him, though more gracefully. Why do you enjoy simple water? She asked. Because it's beautiful, Eli said. It reminds us of home, and sometimes beauty itself is a reason to pause and feel happy. Zephyra's eyes glimmered. Feeling happiness without gain, illogical, yet appealing. Your humor yesterday, perhaps it is related. You pursue amusement to connect. Eli laughed. Exactly, you're getting it. Then, as they continued, a minor misunderstanding caused a ripple of chaos. Mara leaned too close to a floating console, accidentally activating it. Holographic shapes filled the chamber, spinning and morphing into abstract forms. One even resembled a dancing creature. Oh no, Eli whispered. That wasn't supposed to happen. Zephyra observed silently, her gaze unwavering. Unexpected results. Humans cause disruption, yet no harm. Curious, the humans scrambled, trying to restore the chamber to normal, bumping into each other and laughing nervously. Eli turned to the Queen. Sorry, Your Majesty. Humans sometimes create chaos unintentionally. Zephyra's eyes seemed to glow brighter. Chaos, yet creativity emerges. Fascinating. Perhaps your species' value lies in this unpredictability. The day progressed with more examples of human behavior. They demonstrated simple games of strategy, problem-solving, and improvisation. Zephyra watched carefully, asking questions and sometimes attempting tasks herself. Her initial stiffness softened as she smiled faintly at some of their successes and failures. At midday, they were led to a dining hall unlike anything on Earth. Tables hovered at different heights, food glimmered with soft lights, and flavors changed subtly as they were tasted. The humans tried dishes cautiously, reacting with surprise and delight. Eli nearly choked on a dish that shifted flavors mid-bite. Earth humans, you are unusual in taste and reaction, Zephyra commented. Yet your laughter, it is charming. Eli laughed along with the crew, relieved that the Queen was not offended. Humor, he realized, might be their secret advantage. Humans were unpredictable, adaptable, and full of emotion, qualities that Zephyra seemed to find intriguing. After lunch, Zephyra took them to the observation balcony of her palace. The view was breathtaking. Forests of crystalline trees, rivers that reflected all the colors of the spectrum, and mountains floating gently above the ground. You humans, you are not like other species I have observed, Zephyra said softly. You risk miscommunication, yet persist. Boldness, creativity, connection, all in one package. You amuse me. Eli swallowed, trying to maintain composure. Thank you, Your Majesty. Humans, and we try our best, and sometimes we succeed at surprising people. Zephyra's lips curved in a hint of a smile. Yes, surprising. I am learning. Perhaps your species has value beyond what I imagined. The crew exchanged quiet whispers. This was better than they could have hoped. A queen who laughed, asked questions, and wanted to understand humans more closely. This was a chance to prove humanity's cleverness and heart. As the twin suns began to set, casting long shadows across the palace grounds, Eli reflected on the day. What had started as a foolish joke had turned into an opportunity to show the humans' strength. not through weapons or dominance, but through humor, curiosity, and adaptability. Zifara turned to him, her glowing eyes fixed with intensity. "Captain Eli Carter, tomorrow you will show me more. Teach me, and the others, what it means to be human." Eli nodded. "We'll do our best, Your Majesty." "Good," she said, her voice echoing softly in the hall. "Curiosity, courage, and humor are not weaknesses. I see that now." As the humans prepared to leave the palace for the evening, Eli felt a mix of relief and excitement. The first step had been taken. The Queen, once rigid and intimidating, had shown the first signs of openness and curiosity. And in that moment, Eli realized something profound. Humans had something unique in the galaxy. Their humor, creativity, and empathy were tools just as powerful as any technology or diplomacy. And for the first time, Eli Carter felt that maybe, just maybe, his species could impress an alien civilization, not with force but with the heart of humanity itself. The sun set over the floating city of Zarathia, painting the sky in colors no human artist could fully capture. Inside the palace, an alien queen and a human captain shared a silent understanding. A bond had begun, one that promised adventure, laughter, and discovery across the stars. Tomorrow would bring more challenges, more lessons, and perhaps more opportunities to show that humans were clever, adaptable, and full of surprises. The morning light of Zarathia fell through the floating crystal windows of Queen Zifara's palace. Captain Eli Carter and his small crew awoke to a new day filled with the promise of discovery. Yesterday had been strange, humorous, and surprisingly successful. Now they were about to dive deeper into the life of the alien civilization that both fascinated and intimidated them. Eli stretched and glanced at his crew. Lieutenant Mara Singh and Ensign Leo Park were already observing the city, below from the balcony. Platforms floated silently among the towers, and creatures with wings of liquid light darted across the skyline. "Beautiful," Mara said softly. "Yeah," Eli said, "and completely alien. I still can't figure out how their gravity works." A soft hum echoed through the hall. Zifara appeared, her silver form glinting in the light. "Good morning, humans," she said. "Today you will show me more of your species' behavior. You will interact, create, and teach me your customs. Are you prepared?" Eli straightened, trying to appear confident. "Absolutely, Your Majesty. Humans are adaptable." Zifara's eyes glimmered. "We shall see." Their first stop was the Central Cultural Plaza, a massive open area where aliens of all shapes, colors, and sizes gathered. Floating gardens surrounded the plaza, and pathways shimmered with shifting patterns. Zifara explained that this was the heart of social life on Zarathia, a place where alien beings exchanged ideas, stories, and art. Eli and his crew exchanged nervous glances. "Social life," Leo whispered. "We're about to blend in with thousands of aliens who could probably outthink us in 3 seconds. "Relax," Eli said. "We survived yesterday. We can survive today." Zifara led them to a small group of aliens. "These beings are your peers for observation. Learn from them. Engage respectfully. Humor is allowed." Eli took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Greetings," he said. "I am Captain Eli Carter, and these are my crew." The aliens responded in melodic tones. One of them, a tall being with translucent skin and a soft lavender glow, extended a hand. "Welcome, humans. We have heard much about your creativity." Eli smiled. "Thank you. We hope to learn from you as well." The first activity was a game of light patterns, a tradition on Zarathia. Aliens used gestures and thought-powered devices to create shifting colors and shapes in mid-air. Eli and the crew tried to mimic them, causing a mixture of laughter and surprise from the observing aliens. Eli accidentally made a spiral pattern that transformed into what looked like a flying fish. "Oops," he said, laughing. "Not exactly what I meant." Zifara's eyes glimmered with amusement. "Your species is unpredictable, yet creative. This is valuable. Next, they were shown the harmony instruments, devices that produced music when touched in certain ways. Mara played a sequence, creating soft tones that danced through the plaza. The aliens responded with flowing shapes of light that synchronized with the music. Eli attempted to play as well, producing a surprisingly pleasant melody despite his awkward gestures. Zephyra observed silently, her arms folded. After a moment, she said, "Your humans can create beauty with minimal guidance. Impressive." Lunch was another adventure. The dining area was filled with floating trays of food that glimmered softly. Each dish changed flavor as it was tasted. Eli picked up a small orb that smelled faintly like chocolate and citrus. When he bit into it, the taste shifted to something like roasted nuts with a hint of mint. His eyes widened. "Interesting," he said. "Earth food doesn't do this. I like it." Zephyra watched him closely. "You enjoy surprise and taste. You also laughed yesterday at unexpected outcomes. Humor and pleasure seem connected for humans." "Yes, Your Majesty," Eli said with a grin. "We enjoy discovering new things and reacting to them." The afternoon brought more unexpected challenges. Zephyra invited the crew to participate in a traditional Zarathian puzzle, a combination of logic, spatial reasoning, and creativity. The puzzle involved floating geometric shapes that shifted according to touch and thought. Eli, Mara, and Leo studied the puzzle carefully. Eli made a bold move, rearranging several shapes in a pattern that the aliens hadn't anticipated. To everyone's surprise, it worked perfectly. Zephyra's eyes glimmered with interest. "Humans, you think in ways that are unfamiliar yet effective. Boldness combined with observation. Impressive." The crew beamed. Finally, a success they could celebrate. Later, they encountered the mirror pools, a set of shallow water bodies that reflected not only appearances, but emotions and intentions. Eli knelt by one pool and watched his reflection shift from curiosity to nervousness and then to laughter as the water responded to his moods. "Your species can convey emotion so openly," Zephyra said softly. "This transparency is unusual and valuable." Eli smiled. "We humans are emotional. It helps us connect and sometimes solve problems creatively." The day's final challenge was a walk through the floating gardens of thought, a place where ideas materialized into light sculptures. Each visitor could influence the forms by imagination and intention. Eli attempted to create a small scene, a human family gathering around a dinner table. The sculpture shimmered, then transformed into a glowing spiral. Zephyra's glowing eyes softened. "Humans, even your mistakes, contain meaning and beauty. You are resilient, creative, and joyful. Perhaps this is why your species endures." Eli felt a warmth in his chest. The Queen, once so intimidating, now seemed genuinely interested in their ways. "Thank you, Your Majesty," he said quietly. "Humans try, and sometimes we surprise ourselves." Zephyra nodded. "Yes, a surprise. That is, a lesson. You have shown courage, adaptability, and humor. Your species may teach more than I imagined." As the sun set over Zarathia, painting the sky in colors humans had no names for, Eli and the crew gathered with Zephyra on a balcony overlooking the city. "Today," Zephyra said, "you have shown me your species' value. Boldness, creativity, humor, connection. These are tools, not weaknesses." Eli smiled. "We humans believe that, and sometimes a little humor opens doors no diplomacy ever could." Zephyra's lips curved slightly in a smile. "Perhaps your initial joke was not as foolish as it seemed. It sparked curiosity and connection. Unexpected, yet valuable." The crew laughed quietly among themselves. Eli realized that the Queen's curiosity had become genuine. Humans were not just surviving, They were impressing, entertaining, and enlightening one of the most intelligent species in the galaxy. As night fell, and the twin stars dimmed into twin moons, Eli thought about the day. They had learned alien games, participated in puzzles, shared meals that transformed in flavor, and even influenced art with their imagination. Every step had been an opportunity to show humanity's strengths, not through strength or dominance, but through intelligence, creativity, and heart. Zephyra stood silently observing the city. "Humans," she said softly. "You are fascinating. Tomorrow you will show me more. Your culture, your ideas, your connections. I wish to understand fully." Eli nodded, feeling a mix of pride and anticipation. "We'll do our best, Your Majesty. You'll see what humans can do when we work together, and laugh a little." The crew returned to the palace, tired but exhilarated. Every challenge had been met. Every joke, mishap, and success had impressed the Queen, and every moment had deepened the bond between species. In the quiet of the palace, Eli reflected on one thought. Humor, curiosity, and creativity were more powerful than he had ever realized. They could bridge worlds, build trust, and turn even a foolish joke into an opportunity for understanding. Zephyra watched silently from her chambers. For the first time, she wondered if humans might be more than unpredictable. They might be extraordinary. Tomorrow promised more lessons, more surprises, and perhaps more laughter. And for Eli Carter, that was exactly the kind of adventure he had always dreamed of. The next day, the air around the palace of Queen Zephyra shimmered with anticipation. Captain Eli Carter and his crew had been summoned for what the Queen called a series of trials. Eli had no idea what these trials would involve, but based on their past experiences, he knew they would be unusual, challenging, and possibly amusing. The humans assembled in a large courtyard where alien structures twisted and floated in ways that seemed to defy physics. Zephyra appeared, her silver form glinting in the sunlight, and gestured toward 3 glowing platforms. Each platform displayed a symbol representing a different type of challenge: intellect, teamwork, and empathy. "Humans," Zephyra said, her voice calm but commanding. "You will face tasks that test your mind, your cooperation, and your understanding of others. These are not simple tests. They will require creativity, courage, and compassion." Eli swallowed. "We're ready, Your Majesty," he said, trying to sound confident. Mara and Leo nodded beside him. They were ready, or at least as ready as humans could be for alien trials. The first trial began. On the platform of intellect, a massive holographic puzzle appeared. Shapes and symbols floated in mid-air, shifting in patterns that defied human logic. Eli stepped forward. "Okay, think. Humans are good at problem-solving. Let's figure this out." Mara analyzed the puzzle quickly. "These symbols respond to movement and touch. Maybe if we arrange them by pattern and symmetry." She reached out and the symbols responded, forming a series of connected shapes. Eli followed her lead, testing different combinations. Leo contributed by spotting patterns no one else had noticed. Slowly, the shapes aligned, creating a bridge of light across the platform. The humans had succeeded. Zephyra's eyes glimmered. "Impressive. Humans. You approach problems with flexibility and creativity. That is valuable." The second trial focused on teamwork. On the next platform, a series of alien devices floated above a large pit of swirling energy. The devices needed to be activated simultaneously to form a stable bridge across the pit. Eli looked at his crew. "All right, team. This one requires perfect timing. We need to coordinate." Mara and Leo nodded, and together they studied the devices. Each one required a different approach. One needed precise timing, one required strength, and one demanded a creative solution. The humans communicated quickly, adjusting their actions in response to the device's feedback. At one point, Eli almost lost his balance on a floating platform, causing Mara to grab his arm. They laughed nervously, their teamwork becoming stronger with each attempt. After several tries, the devices aligned perfectly, forming a solid bridge. The humans crossed safely, earning nods of approval from Zephyra. "You cooperate effectively," she said. "Humans, you are adaptable and supportive. That is rare." The final trial was the most challenging. Empathy. A series of holographic projections appeared, showing alien beings in distress. One was trapped under a fallen structure, another was confused and frightened, and a third was struggling to communicate. Eli realized that this trial was not about speed or intelligence. It was about understanding and helping others. The humans approached each situation carefully. They found solutions that combined observation, intuition, and communication. Eli guided the first alien out of danger. Mara calmed the frightened being, and Leo improvised a method for the third to communicate using gestures and symbols. Zephyra observed quietly, her expression unreadable. After all the projections were resolved, she spoke. "Humans, you respond to the needs of others with patience, compassion, and creativity. Your species values connection. That is remarkable." Eli felt a surge of pride. The humans had proven themselves in intellect, teamwork, and empathy. They were not just clever. They were adaptable, kind, and capable of understanding beings very different from themselves. After the trials, Zephyra led them to a quiet terrace overlooking the alien city. "You have shown me much today," she said. "Your species is clever, cooperative, and empathetic. Yet there is one more aspect I wish to observe: humor. Humor can reveal truth, insight, and creativity. Do you humans still maintain it in difficult situations?" Eli smiled. "Yes, Your Majesty. Humor is essential. It helps us adapt, bond, and see the world in new ways." Zephyra raised an eyebrow. "Then demonstrate it. Show me how humor guides your actions." The humans looked at each other, unsure what to do. Then Eli had an idea. "All right, we'll show you human problem solving with a touch of humor." He explained a small improvisation game they used on Earth to train creativity and quick thinking. Each member of the crew would face a hypothetical problem and solve it in an unexpected or funny way. They took turns. Mara invented a floating machine that collected all lost items in the city. Leo created a self-singing plant to entertain children, and Eli himself presented a humorous but clever plan to transport a herd of alien creatures safely, using a chain of floating platforms. Zephyra watched, her expression slowly changing. At first, her gaze was analytical, but then the faintest curve appeared at the corners of her lips. She leaned forward, intrigued by the humans' creativity and humor combined. "You humans, you approach problems with intellect, compassion, and levity. Boldness with humor. This is effective." The humans laughed quietly among themselves. Humor, they realized, was more than a tool for amusement. It was a bridge between worlds. It could ease tension, inspire creativity, and even impress a galactic queen. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the floating city in shades of violet and gold, Zephyra addressed them. "Captain Eli Carter, your species has shown qualities I did not anticipate. You are bold, adaptable, and wise beyond expectation. Perhaps your species has a role in the wider galaxy beyond survival." Eli's chest swelled with pride. "Thank you, Your Majesty. We humans, we try to learn, to connect, and to understand. And yes, we try to laugh along the way." Zephyra nodded. "Indeed. Courage, intellect, empathy, and humor. These qualities make your species remarkable. I will observe and learn more. Perhaps we can share knowledge, culture, and ideas." The crew returned to their quarters, exhausted but exhilarated. Today had been a day of growth, not just for them, but for the bond forming with the alien queen. Every trial, every challenge, every humorous improvisation had strengthened their connection with Zephyra and highlighted humanity's unique qualities. That night, Eli reflected on the lessons learned. Humans did not need to rely on advanced technology. vast armies, or cunning strategies to impress other species. Their creativity, humor, empathy, and courage were powerful tools. They could solve problems, adapt to new situations, and build trust in ways that no other species might expect. Zephyra, in her chambers above the city, looked out over her people. She considered the humans she had observed. Their laughter, ingenuity, and compassion had left a mark on her understanding of life beyond Zarathia. They were unpredictable, yes, but in their unpredictability, there was brilliance. Perhaps, she whispered to herself, the humans are not merely amusing. They may teach me lessons I did not expect. And perhaps they are worthy of trust. Eli, unaware of the Queen's thoughts, prepared for the next day. He knew more surprises awaited, more challenges, and more opportunities to show humanity's best qualities. The trials had proven one thing: humans were clever, adaptable, and capable of surprising even the most intelligent alien mind. As the twin moons of Zarathia rose, casting silver light over the palace, Eli Carter felt a sense of pride and anticipation. The journey had only just begun, but one thing was certain: humans had made their mark. Humor, creativity, and courage were not just quirks. They were powerful tools that could bridge worlds. Tomorrow promised new adventures, deeper lessons, and perhaps even moments of genuine connection that could shape the relationship between humans and the alien civilization forever. And for Eli, that was exactly the kind of challenge he loved most, one that required wit, heart, and the unpredictable brilliance of being human. The palace lights glimmered, reflecting off the floating towers of the city. Somewhere in the distance, Zephyra watched silently, a small smile on her face. She had learned much from the humans today, and she knew that the lessons were only beginning. For Captain Eli Carter and his crew, the trials had shown one undeniable truth: humanity's greatest strength was not technology or power, but their heart, their humor, and their courage to face the unknown with creativity and hope.
The morning sun of Zarathia rose slowly, casting soft golden light across the floating towers of the alien city. Captain Eli Carter and his small human crew were ready for the final day of their visit. After days of humor, trials, and cultural exchange, they were to solidify the bond between humanity and Queen Zephyra's civilization. Eli stretched and glanced at Mara and Leo. "Well," he said, "today is the big day. Let's make sure humans leave a good impression, without causing chaos this time," Mara chuckled. "That's a low bar after yesterday's floating bridge incident." Leo grinned. "I think we set a new standard for unintentional entertainment." Their laughter was light, but the anticipation in the palace courtyard was serious. The humans had been asked to present Earth culture, customs, and ideas to a gathering of Zephyra's advisors and scholars. It was their chance to demonstrate humanity's creativity, empathy, and humor, qualities the Queen had found so remarkable. Zephyra arrived, her silver form glinting in the morning light. Her expression was unreadable, but her glowing eyes held curiosity and approval. "Humans," she said, "today you will share your ways. Speak, demonstrate, and entertain. Let your species show its value to the galaxy." Eli nodded. "Yes, Your Majesty. We'll do our best." The humans stepped onto a platform in the center of the plaza. A soft hum resonated as the platform projected images, sounds, and light patterns. Eli began by telling a simple story of human ingenuity, how a small group of people on Earth had invented a device to solve a common problem. He added humor by exaggerating minor mistakes during the process, causing the audience to laugh in melodic tones. Mara followed by demonstrating a human dance. At first awkward, her movements soon became fluid, showing grace and rhythm that impressed the alien spectators. The floating audience responded with synchronized patterns of light and gentle sounds, a form of applause on Zarathia. Leo presented an improvisation game humans used for creativity. He described a scenario and invited volunteers from the alien audience to join. The aliens hesitated at first, but curiosity overcame caution. They participated, laughing in their melodic way as they attempted to follow Leo's instructions. The result was a chaotic yet beautiful display of color, sound, and movement, an unexpected collaboration between species. Eli watched the Queen carefully. Zephyra observed everything with calm intensity, but the faintest curve of a smile appeared on her lips. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but in that unpredictability, there was creativity, cooperation, and heart. After the performances, Eli spoke about human values: empathy, humor, creativity, and resilience. He described how humans faced challenges, learned from mistakes, and celebrated small victories. Zephyra listened, nodding slightly, her eyes glimmering with interest. "Your species," she said, "balances courage with humor, intellect with empathy, and creativity with cooperation. These qualities are valuable in ways I had not anticipated." Eli smiled. "Thank you, Your Majesty. Humans try to connect, to understand, and to make life better, not just for themselves, but for others too." The Queen nodded. "I see this now. Yesterday's trials, today's demonstrations. They reveal truth beyond words. Humans are clever, adaptable, and compassionate." A hush fell over the plaza as Zephyra addressed her advisors. "Observe these humans. They are not merely curious or amusing. They are capable of insight, creativity, and connection. We may learn from them, and they may learn from us. This partnership may benefit both species." The crowd responded with glowing waves of light and melodic tones. Eli felt a surge of pride. Humanity had impressed one of the most intelligent species in the galaxy, not with strength or weapons, but with humor, creativity, and heart. Zephyra then led the humans to a quiet terrace overlooking the city. "Captain Eli Carter," she said, "your species has shown qualities I did not anticipate: boldness, ingenuity, humor, and compassion. I now wish to formalize a cultural exchange between our species. You will be ambassadors of your world, and I will guide others to learn from you." Eli's heart raced. "Thank you, Your Majesty. We will do our best to represent humanity well." Zephyra's glowing eyes softened. "You have already begun to do so. I find your species fascinating, and I value your presence here. Perhaps now this is the start of a lasting bond." Humans were then invited to participate in a celebratory festival. The plaza transformed into a dazzling display of floating lights, musical energy, and shimmering patterns. Humans and aliens mingled, sharing food, music, and laughter. Eli tried a dish that changed flavor with every bite. Mara danced alongside, an alien with flowing, translucent limbs, and Leo engaged in a friendly game of light pattern creation with a group of young aliens. The Queen watched silently for a moment, then approached Eli. "Your species uses humor, creativity, and courage to connect. That is unusual and admirable. Perhaps you would make a cute ambassador," she said, a subtle hint of amusement in her voice. Eli laughed, a light, genuine sound. "I'll take that as progress, Your Majesty." The day continued with exchanges of ideas, stories, and performances. Humans explained how they created art, music, and inventions. Aliens shared their methods of learning, communication, and culture. The result was a vibrant, joyful mixture of understanding, laughter, and mutual respect. As the twin moons rose over Zerathia, casting silver and violet light across the floating city, Eli reflected on the journey. A single joke, made in nervous humor, had opened doors, sparked curiosity, and built bridges between worlds. Humanity's strength had not come from force or strategy, but from connection, humor, and adaptability. Zephyra approached the humans one last time before their departure. "Captain Eli Carter and your crew, you have shown that your species possesses qualities worthy of respect. Courage, humor, empathy, and creativity. These are the tools of connection. I hope our worlds will continue to learn from one another." Eli bowed. "Thank you, Your Majesty. We will carry your lessons home, and we hope to return one day." The Queen's lips curved into a faint smile. Return. Yes. And perhaps more surprises await you. The galaxy is vast, and curiosity is eternal. The humans returned to their starship with a sense of accomplishment. They had learned about alien culture, shared their own, and most importantly, forged a bond that would last across worlds. Their humor, creativity, and compassion had impressed an entire civilization, proving that humanity's greatest strength was not technology or power, but heart, wit, and adaptability. Eli leaned against the ship's railing as they prepared for departure. Mara and Leo joined him, all three watching the city below. "We did it," Mara said softly. "Yes," Eli replied. "And it all started with a joke." Leo grinned. "I guess sometimes humans really are better at connecting than we think." The ship lifted from the floating platform and ascended into the sky. As they left Zarathia behind, Eli looked back at the palace, the city glowing softly under the twin moons. A new chapter of interstellar friendship had begun. A chapter where humor, creativity, and empathy bridged the gap between species. Zifara's voice echoed in his memory. "Perhaps you would make a cute ambassador." Eli laughed quietly to himself. The galaxy was full of surprises, and humans had just begun to show what they could offer. As the Aurora jumped into hyperspace, Eli thought about the adventures ahead. They would face new worlds, new species, and new challenges, but they carried with them the proof that humanity's heart, humor, and courage could shine anywhere in the stars. And somewhere on Zarathia, the Queen smiled, watching humans leave. She knew this was only the beginning of a friendship that would shape the future. For humans, laughter, ingenuity, and empathy were not just traits. They were tools to connect, inspire, and explore the galaxy. In that moment, across the vast distance of space, two species understood each other a little better. One had humor, one had curiosity, and together they shared something greater: respect, friendship, and the limitless possibilities of the stars. Captain Eli Carter leaned back, in his chair, smiling. Humanity had made its mark, and the adventure was just beginning.